Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. I haven't been on YouTube in ages. It's because I lost my camera and I recently got it back, and so I am now gonna be back at it. I have so many updates and so many different things I want to share. I'm so excited to, one, tell you guys that I am getting a bone marrow transplant. For the people who are watching, you likely have sickle cells or know someone who does have sickle cells, and right now they're saying that bone marrow transplant slash stem cell transplant, they're used interchangeably, is essentially the only cure for the disease. This disease has never had a cure before. They have been doing bone marrow transplants for quite some time, but it was very early, more on a research basis. But I am fortunate enough to go forth with this. I will actually be the first adult in Alberta to get it done. Well, I know there were a couple people who got it done within the last years, but they all fell into the pediatric category. They might have been high in the pediatric category, like 18, 19 type thing, but they were still treated through the through the Alberta Children's Hospital. But mine would be through Tom Baker Cancer Center in Calgary. I'm from Edmonton, and so it's about 3 hours away. So I'll pack my stuff and relocate with my caregiver, which would be my mom. So how does a bone marrow transplant work? I don't know if anyone knows this, or you guys might be curious of it. Essentially, a bone marrow transplant, you need a donor. The donor needs to match you on a whole bunch of different markers they're looking. They do blood work to find this out. It's called HLA typing. So I have a brother and a sister. Both of them were typed, and my brother was not a match, and my sister ended up being a 10 out of 10 match. And I couldn't even believe it. I was overjoyed. I'm so happy. It almost feels surreal. It is a very long road. Like, of course, they're gonna have to collect all of my sister, or not all of her, they're gonna collect a portion of her stem cells, and so they give her some medications for a couple days, and then they collect all the stem cells, and then they will infuse it through me. It's kind of like getting a blood transfusion. It's simple in that way, but at the same time, there's a lot of complications that can come from it. There's a lot of prep work that you also need to do. They pretty much check everything from head to toe, going to like eye exams, MRIs, ECGs, X-rays, echocardiograms, different blood work. Oh man, like the list goes on. They really want to make sure that you're physically well enough to do this, and if there's anything that they need to be aware of or different things like that. But so right now I'm in the preliminary stages of this process, and I am currently actually freezing my eggs because with a bone marrow transplant, before they can just infuse someone else's stem cells in you, they have to kind of depress your immune system so that your immune system isn't fighting the new one that you get. They call that graft versus host disease, where whatever you're getting from someone, this happens with like a heart transplant, lung, liver, anything like that, your body will fight the opposing, I guess, the foreign organ or the foreign substance, whatever it may be. Mine will be stem cells, and so they need to depress that reaction. They do chemotherapy and radiation. So it's essentially the same treatment that a cancer patient would be getting, except it's for sickle cell anemia. And so this, I still will have some of my own immune system floating around, but the new stem cells I get will kind of override what I have there. And so I will be, or should be, sickle cell free after all this, and I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to just, do all the things I wanted to do, whether it's travel or, even just, go for a run. Like, I do get red cell exchange right now, as I mentioned, and in my previous video I kind of brought you guys along to my red cell exchange. So I've been doing the red cell exchange program for about 6 years, going on 7 years actually. I started it just before I started nursing school, and it has been amazing. I go every 7 to 8 weeks, and they're going to withdraw my blood and then give me about 6 to 8 bags of donor blood, which is amazing. You feel great after. It used to be a very exhausting process. I used to get a temporary femoral line that they put in right into your groin, and so they'd use that line for the infusion, then they would take it out. So you'd have to go to radiology, like in the OR, get it put in, get the treatment, and then you'd have to actually, once they pulled the line out, you had to wait 3 hours of bed rest, which was the worst because you couldn't get up to pee, you had to use a bedpan, all of those different things, but it made for a very long day. After that, I found that I was out of commission for days and days after, and it just made the process very difficult. But then about 2.5 years ago, I was approached by my doctor about getting this thing called an IVAD, an intravenous access device. So my IVAD is here on my right chest, and they kind of bury it as low as they could into my breast tissue. And so really it was just one incision across the top, and they stick this little device in. It is a dual lumen, one to pull out the red cells and then one to put them in. It's very cool. It makes my treatments a lot easier, a lot quicker. You're probably done like in and out in about 3 hours time, and you're able to go to work the next day. You're not out of commission. It is amazing. They access your port via needles, as you guys saw. Prior to all of my red cell exchange, I was on hydroxyurea. And hydroxyurea was okay, but it had lots of side effects for me. Like, I was never feeling well. My stomach was always hurting. My nails had turned completely blue. Like, it was very odd things. Like, they talk about hyperpigmentation, where as the dark spots on your body became even darker. So my knuckles became very dark, and actually after I stopped taking hydroxyurea, they cleared up a little bit. They became lighter and closer to my actual skin tone. But now that I'm back on hydroxyurea, they're back to where they were before. But either way, that's minor. The worst thing for me really was nausea. I just felt nauseous all the time. I had no energy. I felt weak. It was not good. So they had stopped me on hydroxyurea, put me on the red cell exchange program using the temporary line I mentioned. Then eventually I got the IVAD, made it a lot easier, but we're finding now that I still don't feel very good after, even though I'm going to get my treatment every 7 to 8 weeks, I'm still in and out of the hospital, and so it hasn't been doing anything. So about 5 months ago or 4 months ago, my doctor decided he was going to use hydroxyurea in conjunction with my red cell exchanges, see if that helped at all. Hasn't helped. I still don't feel well. Since starting hydroxyurea, I still have been in the hospital, even with that combination treatment, so I am pretty heavily managed, and it's still not doing really what they should be. And so my doctor about bone marrow transplant, because I've been hearing about it. They're doing it in Maryland, they're doing it in London, they're doing it everywhere, and so I was wondering if that was an option for me. And at the time he was kind of hesitant because he was very worried about me getting graft versus host disease or not feeling well, or didn't want to make a situation that was bad even worse. So he was hesitant, pushed back a little bit, but I stayed on him and I was persistent, and I said, this is something I am really interested in. If this is going to help me, I want to do it. I want to try my best. I want to see what life could be like without sickle cells. And eventually he did. He wrote a consult. Calgary called me, they scheduled an appointment. So I packed up my whole family, we went down, we got a lot of information from them, but it still was a lot to think about, because I did mention before, you'll be getting chemotherapy, you'd be getting total body irradiation. All those different things can affect your body in so many different ways. I finally came to the decision that God has blessed me with a 10 out of 10 match, so I'm going forward with this transplant, and I'm going to see what happens with it. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to bring you guys along with me on this ride. I'll kind of try to keep you up to speed as things progress from this moment on. Alright, talk to you later.